Hi, this is Nikolai from Bunker Samples, and this is the Harmonium. But this is also the Harmonium. So as you can hear, this is really a two-in-one instrument. It can be a super realistic harmonium, but it can also become a sonic playground and do things that no harmonium has ever done before. There's 3 round robins on everything, and it's very responsive and a lot of fun to play. Now, if you're not sure what a harmonium actually is, it's a reed organ, so it is in some ways more related to a bassoon or an oboe than an actual organ. You have to pump a foot pump while you play to pump air through it, and it's a ton of work. 100 years ago, these things were everywhere. They were immensely popular. This particular harmonium was built in 1910 by this guy in this place, and it ended up here in an apartment I used to rent in Copenhagen. I was leaving the country, I couldn't take it with me, besides it wasn't mine, so I just decided to sample the heck out of it so I could continue to play this fantastic instrument. What really sets this thing apart are the noises down here. First of all, there's a pump noise, and you can turn on and off with the mouse, or you can use the green key switch down here. Does the same thing. Then you have key noises that you can turn on and off with this little switch here, and you can set the level with this slider. And you also have the sound of the stops, which when you turn them on with the mouse, or the red key switches, you have the sound of the stop being pulled in or out. As you can hear, this adds a lot of realism and character to the instrument, and the goal was to make it feel like you're really sitting in front of an old harmonium. There are 6 different stops, and they are mapped exactly like they are on the real instrument, where these 3 corresponds to the blue notes down here, and these 3 to the yellow. Let's hear what they sound like. If you hold Command while you click, you can solo that stop. Or if you hold Alt, you can turn all of them on or off. As you can hear, these 2 stops sound similar. That's not a mistake, that's how they were on the real instrument. I decided to include them for reasons that we will get to in a moment. Let's move on. Again, you can hear these 2 sound very similar, but I included them for a good reason. You have individual volume control of each stop. You also have pan control for each stop, and you have a tone control that you can use to make the sound darker or brighter. And here's a handy feature. If you hold Alt while you drag on a control, you control all of the similar controls. Same goes for volume. And if you want fine control, you just hold Shift. And then you have on each stop also an octave control. You just drag up and down on this number. As I mentioned before, there's a reason I included the stops that sound similar, because it's very useful to tune one of them up and another one down. It gives you a completely different sound. Then we have the performance controls. When real attack and release are turned on, you get a super realistic performance that sounds and behaves exactly like the real thing does. If you turn real attack off, the sample playback starts later into the sample, but you can now shape the attack time with the slider here. It sounds slightly artificial, but it's great if you want that super snappy performance. And of course, you can make it really slow. If you turn release off, you get access to the rest of the ADSR. So if you're making pads, you can set a really long release time. The dynamic slider controls how much the instrument reacts to the velocity that you play with. So when you turn it down, it behaves like a real organ, which only has one dynamic really. And when you turn it up, it behaves much more like a piano, where you have control over the volume of each note. And then we have this big thing in the middle, the effects matrix, which does exactly what it says on the tin. To adjust an effect, you just click on the name of that effect. If you click again, it closes that row. And to turn an effect on or off, you click this little circle here. To turn everything on and off, you hold Alt or Option while you click. And to adjust all the same parameters, again, you hold Alt. Or you can just a single effect. If you want finer control, you can hold Shift, and that also works with holding Alt, Option, and Shift. There are independent pitch LFOs and volume LFOs for each stop, and they are a lot of fun to play with. So you can select the shape by dragging up and down. You have a sine, a sawtooth, and a square. And when you choose square, this pulse width controls becomes available as well. Here you can set the tempo, so it can sync to all these values. The free indicates a triplet value, or you can set it to free, and here you set the speed. Again, you just drag up and down. The pitch LFO can be used for a subtle vibrato effect. Or my personal favorite, you can set it to square and turn this all the way up to an octave. So when you combine the pitch LFO with the volume LFO, you can really get some fun stuff going. Let's see what happens when you select the sine. Again, I'm holding Alt and dragging down. So I hope you can see the possibilities in this. It really is a sonic playground. But the fun doesn't stop there, because we also have a chorus control. We have the same speed controls here with the sync value to free or sync to tempo, and the intensity here. And we have a rotator. You can select fast or slow, and a tone and level. There's also a formant filter with 2 different types. And then we have the third control, which is, of course, distortion. You have two different types. You just click here. You have saturation and distortion. And for each of them, you have two different types: transistor and tube, or enhanced and classic. I personally really like the distortion on the lows, especially if we tune them down a bit. And maybe get some kind of pulse going. So I hope you can hear that this is much more than just a harmonium. There's also a cabinet control. We have all these different types. So with add and with. And then we have the filter. You can select a low pass or a high pass. Set the cutoff and the resonance here. And finally, we have synth controls. You have delay 1 and 2 and reverb 1 and 2. For the reverb, you just click on the name to select a different impulse response. And up here, you set how much you send to each. So I hope you begin to see that with the LFOs and the synth effects to the delays, you can really do some crazy stuff. And that's all there is to it. I hope you get to enjoy this library. It really is a ton of fun. It can take you back to the 1920s, where these things were in a lot of homes all over the world. Or you can go into the future with the effects matrix. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you get to enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.